And I'm an unabashed supporter of the U.S. Merchant Marine, U.S. maritime interests, and the Jones Act. So let me get that out. I have watched over the years the loss in terms of container ships and others of U.S. interests and watched foreign interests kind of dominate, and I worry that we don't have enough support for our own maritime interests. And so I start from there, watching this occur, not only in Puerto Rico, but in my own district and throughout the nation. And I think it's a critical issue that I'm glad that we're discussing. And I'm also glad for this hearing, let me preface, for us to begin to correct the misinformation that I hear all the time now about the Jones Act. And for us to really understand what the Jones Act really does and what it doesn't do, and to stop and to clarify this misinterpretation. So I'm so glad to be back here. I actually just ran from the Supreme Court because we're having a major hearing today on a whole entirely other issue. I hope this doesn't get to the Supreme Court also. So my issue is about this issue of rates, but I want to talk about, what we're doing is not only now concerned about the immediate, which we are, getting goods to Puerto Rico, but I'm also concerned about the reconstitution of the industries and the businesses in Puerto Rico and getting those goods back to the mainland. So I would like to, Mr. Chiarello and Mr. Roberts, to discuss the backhaul rates your companies offer from Puerto Rico back to the mainland, and how these inexpensive rates help Puerto Rican manufacturers and other businesses serve the American markets, because unless we're also concerned about that, how we're going to help the Puerto Rican economy, we are only doing half the job here. So I would like to hear a little bit about what are backhaul rates and what do they mean?
Thank you very much, sir. So the trade in and out of Puerto Rico is about a 2-to-1 trade. So 2 loads are going down to Puerto Rico for every load that's coming back. So as a carrier, and I'm sure Mr. Roberts will speak on behalf of Crowley as well, but as a carrier, we work very closely with the exporters out of Puerto Rico to try to figure out what opportunities there are for freight movement to help improve their economy. I will tell you, without giving exact numbers because I don't have them off the top of my head, the export rates, so from Puerto Rico back to Florida, are significantly less than the rates going from Florida down to Puerto Rico, just because of, number one, the demand, and for us, because we move so many empty containers coming out of Puerto Rico in a 2-to-1 trade, there are opportunities to help support that exporting community. We're seeing biomedical products that are starting to take hold, medical devices. That is an industry that seems to be picking up on the island. We see fruits and vegetables that come out during certain times of the year, certainly supporting that. But there should be more opportunity for freight, and from a carrier perspective, we're trying to work with the government and the shippers to support that.
Before I get to Mr. Roberts to answer, because I'm going to let you answer, but I want to ask you a further question to Mr. Roberts. And that is that a 2013 GAO report that stakeholders were concerned that changes to the Jones Act would jeopardize these inexpensive backhaul services from Puerto Rico to the mainland if we jeopardize the Jones Act. Can you comment on that and also backhauling rates?
Sure. Thank you for asking, and let me say first that I completely agree and appreciate your focus on rebuilding the island afterwards and rebuilding those industries. That's where right. The focus needs to be.
That's right exactly now. Right. At least not only get it, it's important to get those right there, but we have to help rebuild the island, Absolutely. And you're going to be part of that solution.
We're looking forward to that, sir. I would say that, as Mr. Chiarello said, the backhaul rates are a competitive advantage that Puerto Rico has that other islands in the Caribbean don't have. I would estimate, and it's only an estimate, that you can probably get a container load of cargo from Puerto Rico to Jacksonville cheaper than you can get it from Atlanta to Jacksonville. Worth checking anyway. So it is a true competitive advantage that Puerto Rico has. They have built industry around that. and around the tax breaks that unfortunately expired, and that's an issue.
And so you would concur with that GAO report that changes or loss of the Jones Act would actually jeopardize these backhaul rates?
Absolutely.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. I think everybody's got a chance of questions. I'm going to close here unless Mr. Graves gets here, and I'll yield to him for one last series. I just want to start at the beginning. The Jones Act is what's called a cabotage law. It's a maritime law.